Hello everyone, this is Dr. K. Jagannayaki, Professor in MBA Department, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. So today I would like to discuss with you about theory of production. So after completion of this particular topic, the learner will be able to understand what is the concept of production and what factors influence the production process and how you are going to derive the production function and what are the various uses of production function, the terminology that is used in the production function, and also about the different types of production functions. So let us start with what is production? What is the meaning of production? So production means it is a process of converting an input into a more valuable output. So the transformation of inputs into outputs is known as production process. So the analysis of demand is mainly used for planning production process and determining the level of production. So any manufacturing concern, they have to plan before going to produce the goods and services, how much they have to produce and what kind of process they have to use in order to produce the goods and services. So for equilibrium, supply should be equal to demand. So production is an aspect of demand side of the, supply side of the market. So production is concerned about the supply, how much the manufacturer or the company has to supply to the customer so that they can satisfy the needs of the customer in the right time. So production is nothing but creation of utilities. So if you want to define production, it implies the creation of utilities. So here we used to discuss about 4 forms of utility: form utility, place utility, time utility, possession utility. So let us start with the form utility. It refers how much value a consumer receives from a product or service in a way that they actually need. So for example, if you are as an consumer, you are going to spend 20 rupees worth on a particular product. So just we want to find out whether is this 20 rupees is worthwhile or not. Can we able to satisfy our immediate need or not? So that way we have to understand the concept of form. So may include offering consumers lower prices, more convenience, or a wider selection of products. So for that, what the consumer will do? The consumer will always seeks for lower prices. With low and affordable or reasonable prices, they want to have a qualitative product and service. And so that it should be very convenient. Even there may be a lot of choices available to the consumer. Based on that, they used to select the one which is most feasible to the consumer. So the goal of these efforts is to increase and maximize the perceived value of the product. So what do you mean by that perceived value? So what kind of use or utility you are going to get? What kind of benefit we are going to seek from the product? Whether it is in terms of cost, in terms of quality, or any other features you are expecting from the product. So that is how we used to define form utility. For example, if you take a cosmetic company, they may conduct focus groups and testing to identify holes in the market related to different skin types and skin tones. So before going to launch a new product, first of all, the companies, they used to conduct a market survey and they used to identify who are their target group of customers and what kind of products available and what type of skin they may have and skin tones. Based on that, they used to produce the cosmetic and they are going to commercialize the same products into the market. So the company may decide to produce and market new offerings to cater to and complement the needs of more racially diverse clientele, because there will be different kinds of customers with a different skin types and different skin tones. So based on that, they used to produce the goods and services. The company can increase its sales while adding value to these new consumers. So who are there having different skin tones kind of thing, based on that, they used to come out with different types of products that satisfy the needs of different consumers in a market. So that is known as farm utility. The second type of production process or utility is time utility. So time utility occurs when a company provides goods and services when customers or consumers demand or need them. So even the company, they have to supply to the consumers on the right time. For example, now we are in need of any product. So immediately we want to acquire that and we need to satisfy our need. So based on that, the availability or flow of the goods and services will be at the reach of the consumers, providing the goods or services to the right customer in the right place at the right time. So companies analyze how to create or maximize the time utility of their products and adjust their production process, logistical planning of manufacturing and delivery. So everything done in a with a systematic planning. So they used to follow the time schedule, based on that they used to produce the goods and services. And next important concept is place utility. So place utility refers to making goods or services available in locations that allow consumers to easily access the products and services. So it is nothing but we are talking about the location means market, where exactly we used to get the goods and services so that we can easily acquire those goods and services. So making a product available in a wide variety of stores and location is considered an added value since it is more convenient. For example, if you're talking about Apple iPhones, so they will have their own retail stores through which the consumer can easily make purchases. So Apple AAPL sells iPhones and laptops through their retail stores, but also offers its products through other electronic retailers, including Best Buy. So apart from their own locations, they may also make available all their products in other retail stores also. Then comes possession utility. So possession utility is the amount of usefulness or perceived value a consumer derives from owning a specific product and being able to use it as soon as possible. So utility means what is the purpose and how long we can able to utilize the product. So based on utility, we can able to discuss about two types of products. One is perishable, another one is not perishable good. So there are certain goods which we have to consume immediately. So you cannot preserve them for a long term duration. But certain things we can utilize them again and again. So the basic premise behind this utility is that consumers should be able to use a specific good or service as soon as they are able to purchase or obtain it. So for example, in case of milk, curd, so certain things you cannot preserve more than a day. But some things we can utilize, for example, lights, fan, all those electrical goods. So these kind of things we can use for a long-term duration. So that is known as possession utility. Then coming to the definition of production. So Professor J.R. Hicks, he defined production as any activity, whether physical or mental, which is directed to the satisfaction of other people's wants through exchange. So this definition brings out the following features of production. The first one is production means it involves both physical and mental activity, and it must satisfy the other people want. So we are producing not for our sake, but we are producing the goods and services to satisfy the needs of other people. For example, if a farmer produces for his consumption, it is not productive activity. But the same farmer, if he is going to produce for others' consumption, then it is known as production activity. We are producing for others. And there must be exchange. For example, if a teacher teaches without receiving salary, it is not regarded as production. So there should be some exchange activity. Exchange goods for money. So the buyer he used to get the goods and services from the seller. In return, the buyer has to pay some amount to acquire the particular good and service. So it is an exchange activity. Then coming to the production factors. So what are the factors of production? So production of wealth is done by factors of production. These factors of production have been divided into land, labor, capital and organization. So these four are known as factors of production. So these are the inputs we are going to utilize in the production process. In return, we are going to generate some output. It may be in the form of tangible or intangible manner. So factors of production are the inputs available to supply goods and services in an economy. So land means it is a natural resource which is available for production process. Labor, the human input into production process. And capital, the goods used in the supply of other products. For example, if you want to acquire technology, for that we need to spend some amount. So those funds are known as capital. Capital is also one of the major ingredient of production process. Then enterprise. Entrepreneurs organize factors of production and take risk. Then coming to the first one, land. Land represents free gift of nature. So it includes agricultural land, building sites, mines, fisheries, forests, etc. Only those free gifts which are subject to human ownership and control are included under land. And second factor is labor. Labor represents human element in production. So it includes physical and mental effort. All efforts undertaken to earn income are called labor. So labor includes all workers from street sweepers to professors and engineers. Everybody known as labor. Then comes capital. Capital represents man-made instruments of production like machines, plants, tools, factory buildings, etc. All wealth which is used to produce wealth is called capital. Then comes organization. It consists of combining factors and undertaking uncertainties of modern production. The organizer starts production units, he controls the production process and decides what to produce and how much to produce. And moreover, he bears all risks and uncertainties of production. So, because of this, all these four factors are considered the most or key elements of the production process. The next comes to the production function. The production function says that output is the function of input. So as we derived what is output, the production function simple terms, it is the function of NLKT, four factors. So where we used to discuss about natural resource, labor, capital and technology. So it states the functional relationship between physical inputs and physical outputs. As Stigler defines, the production function is the name given to the relationship between the rates of productive services and the rates of outputs of the production. So algebraically, the production function can be written as O is equal to F of NLKT, where O stands for output and NLKT stands for natural resources, labor, stock of capital, state of technology. So it shows the rate of output. P is the function of inputs NLKT. Then coming to the uses of production function used to obtain maximum output. So as the manufacturer will plan for everything, their main objective profit maximization, wealth maximization and utility maximization. So he has to plan in such a way that he can able to produce maximum level of output so that he can supply to the consumers in the right time, and it helps the producers to determine whether employing variable inputs or cost are profitable. So if you are investing something in return, we used to seek some kind of revenue or benefit from our investment. So even the manufacturing concerns will also seek for the investment whether they can able to generate their expected return on their investment or not, and highly useful in long run decisions. Whenever the manufacturer or the company they want to make strategic decisions, then it depends on the production function. Based on the production function only they used to make the strategic decisions in the long run. Then least cost combination of inputs and to produce an output. As we know, in the organization, the available resources always they are scarce and limited in size. So we have to utilize them up to optimum level by keeping the cost minimum, and at the same time we want to maximize our output. Then what are the managerial uses of production function? There are several uses of production function. The first one, it can be used to compute the least cost input combination for a given output or the maximum output input combination for a given cost. So whatever cost or the amount of expenditure you are going to spend to produce the goods and services, up to that extent we want to maximize our revenue. The knowledge of production function is useful to decide the value of variable input employed. So the production function, whether it is useful or not, whether we are going to create some kind of value to the variables, whatever we are used in the production function, it depends on the awareness, how much we have to produce and what kind of process we have to use in order to produce the goods and services, so that we can able to provide the qualitative goods and services to the ultimate consumers. It aids in long run decision making. It is also highly useful for decision makers to find out the most appropriate combination of input factors. So what kind of combination we have to consider so that we can maximize our output. Whether NLKT, these four, the combination, would you like to go with labor and cost of capital, or else natural resources and technology, and which combination you are going to consider? Based on that you are going to maximize your output. Then the terminology of production function. So generally we used to have different kinds of terminology which is used in general sense, that is total product. So total product can be referred to the total volume of goods and services produced by a firm during a given period of time. So TP is equal to AP into L, which is summation of MP, where L is the quantity of a factor, AP the average productivity of a factor, and MP denotes the marginal productivity of a factor. Then it is the sum of total of the output of each unit of variable factor used in the production process. Then marginal product refers to the change in the total product when an additional unit of the variable factor is used, fixed factor remaining constant. If you are going to add one more additional unit, the total cost product will going to change, but the fixed cost remains the same. There is no change in terms of fixed cost. It remains constant. The third one is average product. It refers to the physical output per unit of the variable factor used in the production process. Then it is said to be average product. Then production function with one variable and two variables. So if you consider production function with one variable, so we are going to, if you observe the table, here we are talking about the units of land, units of labor. Then based on that, we used to decide what is the total production, average production, marginal production. For example, if you take 10 acres land, the units of labor is 0. So as there is no unit of labor, the total production becomes 0. So if production is not there, there is no question of average and marginal production. So in this case, land remains the constant. But whereas we used to make changes, we have going to add one more additional unit to the existing unit of labor. So based on that, we can see there is lot of change in the total production, average production and marginal production. Then if you observe the second table, production function with two variables. So here we are going to make changes in both capital and labor input. Based on that, we can see changes in terms of production, total production. Then coming to the types of production function, we are going to divide the production function into two types, short term and long term. Based on the short term, law of variable proportion, and whereas coming to long run, law of returns to scale. Then based on that, we'll have different types of production function. The first one is fixed portion production function. So it is also known as Leontief production function. It implies that fixed factors of production such as land, labor, raw materials are used to produce a fixed quantity of an output, and these production factors cannot be substituted for other factors. So whatever we are using, see if you observe this graph, if you are going to use 2 units of capital and 3 units of labor, we are going to generate 100 units of total production. When you are going for 5 units of capital and 6 units of labor, you can able to produce 300 units. And if you are going to maximize 5 units to 7 and 6 to 9, then your production will be went to 500. If you see the difference at all the cases, it remains the same, 200 units. So that is known as fixed portion production function. Then second one is variable portion production function. It implies that the ratio in which the factors of production such as labor and capital are used is not fixed. They go on continuously change, they are variable, and also different combinations of factors can be used to produce the given quantity. Thus one factor can be substituted for the other, so that we can see lot of variation in the production function. 140, then second level 160, 180, 200 like that. So based on the combination, we used to find changes in the total production. Then comes linear homogeneous production function. It implies that with the proportionate change in all factors of production, the output also changes in the same proportion, such as if the input factors are doubled, the output also get doubled. This is also known as constant return to scale. So how much variation you are going to make in the inputs, the same proportionate change we can find in case of output also. Then comes constant elasticity of substitution. So it implies that any change in the input factors result in the constant change in the output. In CES, the elasticity of substitution is constant and may not necessarily be equal to 1 or unity. So whatever elasticity or change you are talking about in the input, it may be the same in case of output. Then coming to short-term production function, where we used to discuss about law of diminishing returns or law of variable proportions. The law of returns is also called law of diminishing returns. So according to this law, there will be an increase in the total output in the initial stages with one factor fixed and other factors being varied, and this continue until a certain point. After reaching a certain level of output, the total will increase at decelerating rate. So if you see in the first case, continuously it is going to increase, thereafter slowly it is start declining. If the variable input factors are added further to the fixed input factor, the total output will decline. So this law is universal in nature. So if you see the graph, the desired quantity of output increased at state 1, okay. Hence, it reached optimum at state 1, optimum stage 2, and finally, if you observe, it start decline at stage 3. It indicates that one variable proportion labor increases, the output will increase optimum level and finally it declines or it decreases. So that type of law of return is known as law of diminishing return. Initially, you can see there is a lot of fetching in the returns. Thereafter, slowly it is going to decline by adding additional units in the production inputs. The following hypothetical numerical table explains the operation of law of variable proportions. So if you see that the units of labor 0, the total product is also 0, marginal product remains 0, average product is also 0. But if you are going to add additional unit 1 to the existing units of labor, then the total product becomes 10 units, marginal product 10 divided by 1, it remains the same 10, even average 10 by 1, your average product will also 10. But if you are going to add one more unit, 1 plus 1, 2, then your production, total product will be 22. Marginal product, it is the difference between the present and the previous, 22 minus 10, you will get 12 units, and your average product 22 by 2, 11. So if you observe all the three stages, initially there is an increase in the total production, but thereafter, if you observe second and third stages, overall growth will be declined. So this law states that when increasing amounts of the variable inputs are combined with a fixed level of another input, a point will be reached where the marginal product of the variable input will decline. So this law is not based on theoretical argument, but it is based on the actual observation of many production process. Then comes long-term production function, which is also known as law of returns to scale. So in the long run, production function, the relationship between input and output is explained under the condition when both labor and capital are variable inputs. They are not fixed. Continuously we go on change both the variables. So as a result, if you observe this particular table, labor, capital, total output will be different, and there is an increase in the output, and nature returns also we have defined. Increase in returns to scale. Then if you observe the second phase, CRS means constant return to scale, whereas third case, decline returns to scale. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.